I found the note just a few hours before our anniversary dinner. And the strange thing was that it wasn't hidden at all. It was lying right on my husband. Daniel's desk folded neatly once with my name written across the front in handwriting I didn't immediately recognize. At first I assumed it was something sweet, maybe a small romantic gesture he planned for the evening. So I picked it up without any suspicion. But the moment I unfolded it and read the first sentence, a cold feeling settled into my chest. "You don't really know your husband," the message began. The rest of the letter was typed, short and direct, with no signature at the bottom. It claimed Daniel had been lying to me about where he went every Thursday night, and hinted that there was another woman involved, suggesting I check his phone if I wanted proof. I remember standing there beside the desk, reading the words again and again, while my hands slowly began to shake. Daniel and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3, and our relationship had always felt stable and calm. The kind of marriage people envied because it seemed uncomplicated. We met during a corporate retreat, one of those awkward team-building weekends where co-workers pretend falling backward into each other's arms somehow builds trust. Daniel had been the quiet one in the group, thoughtful and dependable, the type of man who remembered tiny details like how I took my coffee, or when I had a stressful meeting. Over time we built a life that felt safe and predictable, and that letter suddenly cracked that feeling open. I had only picked it up because I was searching his desk for stamps to mail a thank you card to his mother after she sent us a gift earlier that week. And now the simple act of opening a drawer had turned into something that made my entire world feel uncertain. Daniel had gone to the gym, part of his usual Saturday routine, which meant I probably had about 40 minutes before he came home. I sat down in his chair and tried to slow my breathing while the words from the note replayed in my mind. It didn't mention a name or any real evidence, but it did reference Thursdays. And that part hit uncomfortably close to home. For the past 2 months, Daniel had been leaving the house every Thursday evening for what he described as a late project meeting with colleagues in different time zones. He usually returned around 10 or 11, smelling like coffee and looking exhausted, and I had never questioned it because his job often demanded odd hours. But now that detail suddenly felt suspicious. My heart started pounding as I walked into the kitchen and picked up his phone from the counter where it was charging. We had always shared passcodes without thinking twice about it, but my fingers felt clumsy as I typed it in. Once the screen unlocked, I just stared for a moment because I wasn't sure what I was even hoping to find. I opened his text messages first, but there was nothing strange conversations with me, his brother, and a group chat full of ridiculous memes from college friends. I checked his email next, scrolling through work messages and promotions until my eyes started to blur. Finally, I opened his photo gallery, and that's when something unusual appeared. There were dozens of pictures I didn't remember seeing before, all taken over the past 2 months. Many were screenshots of charts, performance graphs, and diagrams that looked vaguely scientific, while others showed notebook pages filled with Daniel's messy handwriting alongside words like endurance, oxygen levels, and training intervals. Then I reached the last photo in the folder, a selfie. Daniel was standing inside a gym, sweaty and smiling, beside a woman I had never seen before. She looked younger than me, wearing athletic gear with the logo of a training center located a couple towns away. The background showed racks of weights and rowing machines, and when I zoomed in on the image, I noticed something unsettling. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at him. My stomach twisted instantly. A moment later, I heard the rumble of the garage door opening. Panic shot through me, and I quickly locked his phone and placed it back exactly where it had been, before walking into the living room and forcing myself to sit calmly on the couch. Daniel walked in carrying his gym bag, sweat darkening his shirt. "Hey," he said casually, studying my face. "You okay? You look kind of pale." I managed a quick smile and told him I was just tired from cleaning. He kissed the top of my head and went upstairs to shower while I returned to the desk and read the letter again. The same sentence echoing louder this time. You don't really know your husband. When Daniel came back downstairs later, I finally gathered the courage to speak. I asked him what he actually did on Thursday nights. He answered immediately, saying it was the same project meeting he'd mentioned before, listing a few co-workers' names and explaining they usually stayed late to finish planning. His calm tone made me hesitate, but instead of arguing, I simply handed him the letter. He read it silently, and when he finished, something unexpected happened. He exhaled with relief. That reaction caught me completely off guard. He sat down beside me and admitted he had planned to tell me something during dinner that night, but wanted it to be a surprise. When I demanded an explanation, he opened the photo gallery on his phone and showed me the same pictures I had just seen. Then he explained that for the past 2 months he had secretly been training for a triathlon scheduled later in the summer. The graphs and notes were part of his training plan, and the woman in the selfie was his coach, someone who ran a specialized endurance program. Thursdays, he said, were the only evenings when the training facility offered long sessions combining swimming, cycling, and running practice. He hadn't told me earlier because he was afraid he might quit like he had with other hobbies in the past and didn't. He want to disappoint me if he failed again. As I listened, the tension in my chest slowly eased, but the mystery of the letter still lingered. When I looked again at the envelope, something about the handwriting suddenly felt familiar. I walked to the kitchen, opened a drawer filled with old greeting cards, and found one Daniel's mother had sent us months earlier. The looping style of the letters matched perfectly. When I held them side by side, Daniel's expression went pale. He called his mother immediately, pacing across the living room while I watched. The conversation was brief, and when he hung up, he explained that she had noticed several unfamiliar charges on his credit card: gym fees, coaching payments, race registration, and assumed he was hiding something from me. After he brushed off her questions, she decided to warn me anonymously, believing she was protecting our marriage. The absurdity of the situation finally broke through my shock, and I began laughing in disbelief. We eventually went to dinner as planned, talking about the upcoming race and his fears about swimming in open water. But part of me kept replaying those 3 hours when I had believed the worst about him. Weeks later, I stood at the finish line wearing the small lighthouse bracelet he had given me that night, cheering as Daniel crossed it exhausted and triumphant. As he collapsed into my arms, I realized how fragile trust can feel, even in a marriage that once seemed completely certain.